now with that new fallout for Nick Cannon, the actor, rapper, and television host fired by Viacom overnight following racial and anti-Semitic comments he made on his podcast. Eva Pilgrim has those details for us. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning, Robin. Cannon has been on social media tweeting both messages of support and attack. The network saying they fired Cannon after he promoted hateful speech on his podcast on YouTube. Overnight backlash for Nick Cannon after these controversial comments on his podcast, Cannon's Class.
We are the Semitic people. When we are the same people that who they want to be, that's our birthright.
Viacom CBS announcing they are cutting ties with the comedian. In the June 30th episode of his podcast, Cannon speaking to former Public Enemy member Professor Griff.
The only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, rape, kill, and
fight or flight, okay,
in order to survive.
Exactly.
So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people.
Right.
They had to be savages.
The 39-year-old host facing criticism for his comments, also accused of perpetuating an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory.
The Rothschild, centralized banking, the bloodlines that control everything even outside of America.
Viacom CBS saying in a statement overnight that they condemn bigotry of any kind. And Viacom telling ABC News, we are deeply troubled that Nick has failed to acknowledge or apologize for perpetuating anti-Semitism, and we are terminating our relationship with him. Robin.
All righty.
Yeah, see, we can't look at Nick Cannon and these entertainers and so forth, and these professional sports players like the Israelites that's in the camp, or like the faithful and the spiritual, the Israelites that is spiritually built for putting his word out. We can't look at them the same way, okay? Because the Israelites that's out there in the streets and the Israelites that's been faithful and been obedience to the Most High would give their life for this word. They're not going to backpedal on what they say. Now, I believe that it really wasn't about Nick Cannon. It was about Professor Griff. See, they don't like Professor Griff, these so-called Jews. So they was really after Professor Griff. If you remember the Arsenio Hall show, when he invited Louis Farrakhan on his show, that was the end of Arsenio Hall, because it was about Louis Farrakhan. They don't like Louis Farrakhan. So-called Jews don't like Louis Farrakhan. They call him anti-Semite. Professor Griff called them anti-Semite, but all that is BS. Okay, they're not the true biblical Jews. Okay, the true biblical Jews come from the tribe of Judah, who are the Negroes. The true chosen people of the nation of Israel, all 12 tribes, are the chosen people of the Heavenly Father, the chosen people of the God of Israel. So the problem wasn't really about Nick Cannon, it was about Professor Griff. And those two brothers got into their conversation. They was deep into the conversation. They didn't give a damn who was watching or who was around them. They was deep into that conversation, man, and you can see that. And they was bringing out some deep conversation. Okay, with that, brothers and sisters, let's step inside. Shalom. First of all praises to Yahweh Yahweh Shai, the Most High, and the Mashiach Yahweh Shai. My name is Elder Osh. Today's topic, we're going to talk about walking circumspectly. Walking circumspectly, which means walking carefully and walking wisely. There's a lot of things going on in this society. It's time for revolution and it's time for liberation. There's a lot of things going down. A lot of people talking about the Nick Cannon situation and the Deshaun Jackson situation. If any of you brothers, y'all want to give an input, do so. If y'all want to share some information that you have, you can do so. Now, when brothers start speaking about, who the children of Israel is, when they start talking about who is the real Jew, they're going to get a lot of flack for that, man. So that means when you're speaking the truth about the Most High, you have to be ready to sacrifice for that. The Most High said, when you come and serve me, prepare yourself for trials and tribulation. That means that you're going to lose things. You understand? A lot of people are going to come against you. There's brothers in these congregations, that's in these camps teaching today, that have lost jobs, they have lost their families and so forth, they have sacrificed. But the difference is they kept on pushing. See, you have to stand for the truth, whether if it costs you your life. Okay, you don't apologize to nobody, you know, because Deshaun Jackson, Nick Cannon was speaking the truth. Okay, so don't go back and apologize for that. Okay, because the Most High wants you to put it out, and don't go back and start apologizing and then get weak and tap out. Okay, because you got brothers in the streets, the lost families. There are brothers that had decent paying jobs. They out there in the streets teaching. Some of the co-workers walk by, you know, see them out there and go back and tell the supervisor, and the supervisor conspire and get the brother fired or so forth, or get him on unemployment, you know, lay him off and so forth. But the brothers keep pushing. See, they don't back off. Well, I apologize now because this is the Most High. If you're doing this for the Most High, you stand by it and you stand with it. You know, even if it costs you your life. And the Most High used elements. He used people to get his word across, to get his truth across. He used elements. He can use wild beasts for his prophecies. He can use tornadoes, hurricanes. He can use revolutionaries, because there are some revolutionaries that's out there that the Most High will use for his program. But we as Hebrew Israelites, we know that we're ministers. Okay, we bring the message, we teach. We're not going to get out there. Now, we will defend ourselves, but we're not going to get out there with guns and so forth and try to come up against this system. No, that's not our job yet. But when the Most High said, when he put his spirit in Israel, by the Most High spirit, that's when Israel is going to do these things. Okay, but you have revolutionary groups that the Most High will be using. The Most High will use people. Just like in the time of Jerusalem, when Jerusalem fell in 70 AD. The last stronghold to fall was Masada in 73 AD. You had revolutionary groups. You had the Zealots. You had the Sakari that was fighting against the Romans. Were they about believing in Yahushua? No. But they were about destroying the Romans, okay, the Roman system, the Roman government. But they was being used as well. Okay, there were other groups, the Idumeans. They were fighting against the Roman setup as well. Even in BC time, you had the Maccabees that was fighting against the Greeks, Antiochus Epiphanes. They was fighting against the Greeks. You had Mattathias, the Maccabees' father, who was a Levite priest that started the war with the Greeks. Okay, and that's how we got one of our feast days, Hanukkah, the Feast of Lights. Okay, that's not in Leviticus the 23rd chapter, but the Most High gave respect to that feast day, and Yahushua acknowledged that feast day in St. John the 10th chapter. Okay, and they said we're going to set up this feast day, Hanukkah, the Feast of Lights, after the feast day in Leviticus the 23rd chapter, which were tabernacles, which was called the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay, so the Most High acknowledged that feast, which came away of what? Revolutionary, which came away of what? By bloodshed and the liberation of the independence of Israel at that time. So the Most High used many people to bring forth his prophetic words. Many people, or whether you're revolutionary or whether you're paramilitary, the Most High will use you. Okay, but the Israelites' job is to get this word across, get this message across. A lot of people are waking up to this word now. Okay, they are waking up. But when you speak this word, you get on TV, when you get out there and put this word out, that means you have to stand by what you say, even if it costs you your life. Okay, don't go back, start apologizing, turn your back on the Most High. You stick with your guns. Don't tap out. You stick with your guns. Now we have to watch our congregations. I'm speaking about the Israelite leaders, the leaders of these congregations and schools and camps. We have to be aware of who's coming through these doors. Okay, now the scriptures say watch as well as pray. Now you're going to get brothers and sisters that's coming through these doors rash, fast, speedily, looking for positions and so forth. Now some may mean well, but you would have some that are plants. They're set up there to break down and destroy. So that means the leadership of these camps and the congregation, they would have to examine the people that come through those doors, and whoever they set up in structure in the streets and in these camps, who they allow to sit in an authoritative position. As Israelites, we have to watch that. Okay, because there are a lot of plants that are set up, that would be set up in these last days. Like I said, it's a time of revolution and it's a time of liberation. And the time is at hand. When there's revolution, the liberation, which is salvation, is near as well. So we have to watch as well as pray and walk circumspect, which we have to be careful. We have to be wise. And respect, we have to watch all our surroundings. And that's as leaders. And if we run in these camps, whoever comes to these doors, you have to examine. If you get the brother that comes to these doors, he's moving rash, he want power or position real quick, he's always, running to the leadership, want to sit around the leadership, and he wants to ear hustle, you got to watch that brother. And the ones that's talking about getting, well, we got to get this, we got to get that, everything illegal, you got to watch him as well. Because when you look at the Black Panthers, you look at Fred Hampton. He was one of the Black Panther leader in the chapter, leader of one of the chapters in Chicago. One of his bodyguards was an FBI agent. And that bodyguard was the main one that talked about, we got to get weapons, we got to get this, we got to get that. And that bodyguard was the one that laid the blueprint of Fred Hampton's apartment, where Fred Hampton would be sleeping and where his head would be. Okay? And he notified the authorities, and the authorities came. 99 shots murdered Fred Hampton and Mark Clark. You understand? Now, in the Black Panthers meetings, you had FBI agents that was in their meetings. And you had FBI agents working for different agencies. They didn't know one another. You understand? They didn't know one another. So one agent would get up, hey, we ought to get guns, we ought to blow this and blow that up. But the other agent would go back and report, hey, the Black Panthers is getting ready to do this and getting ready to do that. So the authorities would ride down on the Black Panthers. And you got a lot of brothers and sisters still locked up today, for BS like that. Okay, because they undercover in even religious organizations. And Israelites is no different. So that's why we have to watch as well as pray and examine who's coming through these doors, who's moving rash, who want the power, who want to move right up where the leadership is at, who want to take on the structure, who wants the power trip, who wants to, they want to be equal with the leadership, who want the stripes on their shoulders and so forth. Those are the people that you have to watch. Now, some may come through the door that mean well and that can help, the congregation, but you still have to watch and examine the people. Now, the Most High is in control of everything, but we still have to watch. You understand? And we still have to be aware. Now, remember the FBI as well, the COINTELPRO, they tried to set Fred Hampton and the Jeff Ford of the Blackstone Rangers, tried to set them against one another. Okay, but Fred Hampton's death, when Fred Hampton got murdered, the Blackstone Rangers gave total respect to Fred Hampton. They came to the funeral deep, and they gave all the respect to Fred Hampton. Okay, and even you can look at Martin Luther King. When Martin Luther King made his speeches in Chicago, well, when he came to Chicago to make his speeches, some of his security were the Vice Lords, Blackstone Rangers, and the Gangster Disciples. They was called the LSDs, for Lords, Stones, and Disciples. But their mindset wasn't like the gang's mindset today. They was more into the political mindset. They wasn't out there, doing all that killing and so forth. Okay, but they were Martin Luther King's security when he came to Chicago. And also when Martin Luther King went to Memphis, there was a group called the Invaders. They was Martin Luther King's security in Memphis. Now, the Invaders was in the hotel. Now the word got out that Martin Luther King's people wasn't going to pay for the Invaders' stay in the hotel, so the Invaders left. And they was picking off Martin Luther King's security piece by piece. The black policeman that's supposed to be in the security, they took him off the detail. So therefore, Martin Luther King was left out there open. It was a setup, and he was assassinated. Okay, so let's dive into the scriptures, and let's go to Ephesians, the 5th chapter, and we're going to read from the 15th to the 17th verse. It reads, "See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. 17th verse. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Most High is. Now let's jump back up to this 15th verse. It says, see then that ye walk circumspectly. Now let's look at this word circumspectly. Circumspectly means carefully. Now circum refers to a circle as a what? Circumference. And spec has to do with sight as spectacles or inspect. So that means wherever our location, we have to inspect our surroundings. That means inside out. Whether it's in the congregations or schools or camps, even on your jobs, whether you're on the subway, whether you're in the streets, your antennas have to be up. Okay, you have to inspect your surroundings, whoever is around you, even the people within. Okay, you have to inspect, and your antennas have to be up, and you have to be ready. You have to be aware of what's happening. You have to what? Be focused. Now, the 16th verse. Redeeming the time, because the days of evil. Now, redeeming the time, we have to make the most of every opportunity for the Most High. And the days of evil, this is another reason to walk circumspect, is to walk wise and to be careful, because what? We're living in the evil time. And the scriptures say that woe unto you, because the devil hath came down amongst you, seeing whom he may devour. So our antennas have to be sharp. Our insight, we have to inspect our surroundings. You know, like I said before, whoever you let in those positions, whoever you let having authority and control of what you got set up, you are responsible for that. Okay, you are responsible. And that means all congregations. And that means all organizations, especially the Israelites. Because like I say, our job is to what? Is to minister. Is to put the prophetic word and to put the vibration of the Most High out there. Now, the revolutionary groups, they may not know the scripture like we know it. Okay, and their job may not be like our job, but the Most High is using everybody, okay, to get his prophetic message across. You understand? Let's go to the 17th verse. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Most High is. And the will of the Most High is the real wisdom, is what? Having understanding. The will of the Most High come from a knowledge, from the knowledge of this word. You have to understand this word. You understand? Because there's programs set up, and I'm pretty sure they're set up in all Israelite camps. Whether you come to these doors, there's a steward program or a soldier program or what have you. You go from there, stewards, you go to a soldier, then the officers, then from the steward to soldiers, you go in the streets. Okay? You don't just come through the doors and just go straight up to the top. But we have some that come through the doors that try that. And some leadership may allow that. But you still have to inspect and examine who you allow it to step foot and come around the surroundings of the leadership. Right. Okay, that want those stripes. Right. You know, but hadn't put any work in. That hadn't proved themselves first. Right. Okay, it's about proving first and trust as well. Okay, regardless of how many scriptures you can quote or your hand goes up or what have you, and instead of asking the question you want to teach now, okay, the person you got to watch as well. Okay, so it's a time of revolution, time of liberation. We have to walk circumspect as the Israelites, and like Nick Cannon and Deshaun Jackson, when they speak, stick with your guns. Not tap out, stick with your guns. Don't apologize for truth. What you gonna apologize for truth for? Deshaun Jackson don't have to go to no Holocaust museum. But for what? You're speaking the truth, brother. I mean, if it caused you to lose everything, and then you lose that unto death. The brothers that's out in the streets teaching this word have lost families. They have lost jobs, monies from these jobs. They have lost everything. You got family members say, you in this coat, you teaching, hey, they keep their kids from them. But brothers didn't go back and apologize. Well, I apologize and this and that. No, they kept pushing for the Most High. Right. And once you start talking about these so-called Jews, man, you got to stick with your guns and have the facts and proof that they are who they are, and we are the sons and daughters and children of the Most High. We are the biblical Jews from the tribe of Judah. Come on.
Yeah, and Nick Cannon, he wasn't able to display that.
Right.
The first thing he did is he jumped out there, got a Jewish guy, and he backpedaled. Right? That's the first thing he did.
Yeah. You gotta have, number one, you gotta have this. You gotta stick with these guns, man. This is your documents right here, your historical documents. This is your birth right here. This is your lineage. Everything you need to know, you pull this out.
Right.
You say something, say, I can back it up with this. Okay? You know, don't just put something out there because you see brothers in the streets and you try to mimic that. No, brothers not just out in the streets, just out there. No, brothers had to learn this, man.
Right.
They had to grow into this. You understand? They had to grow into this. You know, when you see, even young camps, young brothers, they didn't just get this, just picking this up, and, you know, some of them have watched camps on the internet and said, well, let me make me a sign. I believe, the spirit, I believe what they teach. Let me set up. But they had to grow into the mentality that they became. They had to grow into that. They had to grow into the spirit. And the Most High had to work with them, but they're not backing down on anything. They're not changing their minds. You understand? So with that, brothers and sisters, I just wanted to go through this little short class of walking circumspect. We have to be very careful and examine our surroundings and examine our congregation and be aware of who's around you and who's coming through your doors. Right. Because there can be slicksters, there can be plants, there can be some that's coming in to disfigure or to cause confusion in your congregation, brothers and sisters. Now, like I said, brothers and sisters come through these doors moving rash. Okay, some mean well, and some are there sent from the Most High to help the congregations. But still, you have to watch and you have to check things. Okay, because if not, it's all going to fall back on the structure of the leadership. Okay, and with that, my brothers and sisters Israel, I say shalom. All praises to Yahweh. While Yahweh shah, shalom.
Shalom.